you've dated a stand-up comedian?
I've dated one, and we're good buds today, and I'm friends with her boyfriend, and we have such a good, totally fine.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah, I'm really happy and proud of that.
Well, this is a negative podcast, so get ready.
I know.
We're going to get there. So welcome to The Downside. My name is Gianmarco Soresi. I'm here with my co-host, Russell Daniels.
Hello.
And we are here with a fantastic stand-up comedian. You don't have a podcast right now, do you?
I do, yeah.
Including the Sirius XM show?
Yeah, Sirius XM show no longer. They restructured, and I was not part of the structure. You don't have to edit that. I don't care.
No, I was just going to hit the theme music. Oh, it was such
I
a
thought you were
perfect...
hitting an edit button. Oh, that's so
You thought I was editing? No, I thought it was such a perfect, like, that show no longer exists.
1, 2, 3. Downside.
You're listening to The Downside.
The Downside.
With Gianmarco Soresi.
Well, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Shit happens.
You know?
I mean, it's a pandemic. I had work during a pandemic. Yeah. It's great.
That is very nice.
So,
well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Always nice to have you. I remember when I first started stand up, you were like, you were just someone who was like cool. I just remember Sam Morrison was my friend, and I always remember Sam told me once, he was like, I saw Ian, he headlined Creek in the Cave, and he was just murdering him, killing. And it was just like something, when you're young, a young starting out comic, and you're like, oh, I guess he's.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say.
person.
Thank you. That means so much. I love Sam.
I didn't see it. It was just Sam.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there's a negative aspect of the podcast.
I immediately told Sam, I'm like, okay, Sam, let's relax.
I'll judge for myself.
I'm sure that it didn't all work.
Yeah.
Sam
Soresi poo-poo.
It's no good. It's no good. But thank you for being here. We had some time off. My dad, he had a heart surgery that he made it through.
Oh man.
And then I had a breakthrough case of COVID.
Whoa.
Waited the whole span. It was the fucking worst.
When?
It was over 14 days ago. But it was like.
And I had it right before then. So
were you okay?
It was really bad.
Really?
It was.
And you're vaccinated.
Whoa. It was no joke. I woke up. I had the smell. I had the taste. All that shit was fine. It was very flu-like. Skin hurt, chills, fever, achy.
Did your neck hurt?
My lower back really hurt one
thank
time.
God. All right.
Why?
Because my neck hurts.
Oh, your neck hurts.
And I was headbanging, and my neck hurts once every month at least.
yeah.
But I was talking to my gal, and she was like, does your neck and head hurt? That's a symptom. And I was like, no, oh God. So now I'm just worried.
It gets harder the older you get, where you're like, yeah, my neck hurts. Of course it hurts.
Dude,
my back hurts. Everything hurts.
I carry bacitracin in my fanny pack.
What's bacitracin?
It's like Neosporin. I carry bacitracin, I carry Pepto-Bismol, I carry Motrin in my fanny pack with me because I am slowly breaking down.
Yeah, it is crazy the physical like stuff. Like sometimes you'll just stand up in the morning. You're like,
dude,
that's what's amazing.
What is this?
Is the what happened in my sleep?
Yeah,
I wake up in my Achilles tendon, and I'm like, so I can't lie down anymore. Not even lying down is enough. I need to be in like a water chamber to not like have new pains.
Dude, I ride a bike everywhere. I ride like at least 15 a day. And I'm like, if something happens to my body, because that's like a huge part of my mental health and like it's like very meditative and I love it. And if I can't do that, I'm like, just fucking blow my head off. Like if I can't walk briskly or like something happens to me where I can't do my daily activities, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm so worried I'm just going to be old and it'll go away,
How do people when they're old ride bikes? I'm trying to think if I've seen
it's really good for you. You're getting your body and your endorphins and everything moving, and it's good for your heart rate and your lungs and everything. So it's like in terms of exercising, that and swimming is like wonderfully good for your body.
Can you ride a bike?
Yeah.
See, I can't really ride a bike.
What?
Okay, so
you can't ride a bike and you can't drive.
What?
It's
you can't drive?
You're relying on walking.
One thing at a time. One thing at a time.
God.
So what happened with bike? I don't know. Like, it's just one of these things. There's parts where I look and I'm like, I think my parents were just depressed. So they didn't do some of these things. So I had a bike with training wheels, like lots of kids. And then I just remember one time on a playground, some kid was like, "You still use training wheels?" And I never touched a bike again.
No.
And then,
But didn't you have didn't you have like where I guess depends.
Did you
on
have
where
like a
live.
neighborhood gang of bike riders?
Yeah.
did I have a neighborhood gang?
Well,
of,
like
what did I
friends,
grow-
we would go on bike rides. Like
Yeah.
you had, it was like it wasn't like a thing. We didn't. Everyone knew how
I
to ride a
think
bike.
balance.
You know,
I was not an athletic kid. Flat feet, awkward, gangly. So balance was always a problem. Ice skating rinks, that was a big popular birthday party activity. I never could do that well.
I ate it ice skating as a kid. Braces flew off my teeth.
Oh,
It
God.
was bad news.
So all I did, what happened is my dad, he got me this thing for Christmas where it was like, I describe it like a chariot. It's like a bike with two like boards on the back, so it requires zero balance.
I think your father bought you a rickshaw.
A rickshaw. It was kind of like a rickshaw. Yeah. And so my dad got me this thing, and I liked it because
he's like, wait, you got made fun of for having training wheels, and then your dad bought you a rickshaw.
Yeah.
Like I'll show the kids. Like this is,
Yeah.
you drive the kids around in this.
Yeah. You were like delivering like fruits to their family like an old Italian in the Bronx in the 40s.
I would ride it now. I mean, it's huge. It was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And what happened? I was riding one day down a hill, and my dad was like, "Do it this time with no brakes," because I was a very cautious kid. So I was like braking, going slow. It had the handbrake, and so I tried it with no brake. I started going super fast, so fast that in my head I was like, if I had kept going, there was like a creek there, and I was like, I might die. In my head, it was like sudden, a very high intensity moment. So I decided to just step off.
Oh no.
While it was moving, like I remember it, like it was one of the few times in my life it was like a slow motion.
Yes.
Where I'm like,
Those
I'm gonna step off,
accidents are always slow.
and I remember like putting my foot down on the pavement and then just elbow, hands, knees. If I had hit my head, I ended up breaking my arm. If I had hit my head, I didn't have a helmet on. And my dad, who was normally like a safety guy, like he felt terrible. And I just don't know if I can
And
do
ever
it.
since you haven't been able to, well, I mean, hey, Downside Patreon episode, Gianmarco learns how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, you
that's,
should.
That's good. Live from the hospital. Gianmarco
Yes.
tried riding a bike.
Yes.
Well, then it's in New York. I can't even imagine what kind of.
bro, I love it. I love it.
Did you always love it? Were you always good
Yes.
at riding around in New York?
I've always loved
Take
danger.
cues, too. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I have two bikes. I have a single speed and I have a geared bike. The single speed's name is Old Henry, and the geared bike is Richard Geary.
Oh.
Thank you. I've been Ian Fidance. Have a good night.
Old Henry.
And
That's just a name.
Richard Geary. I don't know, I just
Geary.
like the name Henry, and it's an old bike.
Are you a
So I
Richard Gere
call-
fan, or that's just the only
No, 'cause
pun
it's
you
a
could think
geared
of?
bike.
Yeah,
It's a
no, I
good
got
pun.
it. Yeah, no, that's good.
It's a great pun, by the way.
It's a great pun.
Yes. Call Samuel Morrison. He'll tell you. But the single speed, I shave the handlebars down. It's like this, probably this wide, so I can go in between cars. Because I used to have a job fixing printers.
Just
in
for
the
those
city.
listening, Ian just took the mic and held it in between
I thought
his
this
hands.
was a video podcast.
Yeah, but we take the audio from here.
Oh, okay.
So with the act outs with the mic.
Gotcha, buddy. I'm gonna. That's one of many. Okay, so get ready.
Get ready.
So, I shaved the handlebars down because I used to have a job where I would fix these specialized printers in the city, and I get paid a pop for each printer. So, I get 10 or 12 in a day. I'm sitting pretty. So I was just biking all through Manhattan, fixing these printers, in and out of cars, in and out of traffic, blasting my music because I got a speaker on my bike. I was getting high at the time, so I was just like smoking weed, fucking riding. It was awesome. It was great.
How often did you get hurt?
I mean, you're gonna get hurt.
Were you ever hit by a car?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, on First and A.
And how bad was it? Did you break anything?
No, I got bursitis in my shoulder, and you learn how to fall. Like it's like like you said, it went in slow motion. Like you learn how to get hit. So like if you're getting hit by a car, you lean into it, and try to roll off
Off
of what
the
you're
car.
getting hit, because if you lean away, you're gonna get sucked under and get run over.
How and you're able to assess this in the moment? I just
Yeah,
can't
it's weird.
even.
Dude,
Physics. Think
I'm
about, like-
telling you, also from riding a bike in the city, you get like matrix vision. You get like Terminator vision where you can assess things ahead of you. Like I
Yeah.
can see an intersection before I'm coming up on it. I can tell if people are coming, if they're not. Spatially, I know if people are around me. It's just this like sixth sense you pick up from doing it in the city so much and so often, you know? So like, I mean, obviously things happen, but I got hit. This was 2015, 2016, and I didn't get hit again until October of last year. So
That's
I mean,
that's a good run.
statistically, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm riding almost every day, that's
Yeah.
great.
Do you have good insurance? Health insurance?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I'm
If I was riding a
I'm
bike,
alright.
I would look more into my
Dude,
insurance.
we were in Austin and we're all being biker boys and fucking scooting and booting, and one of the guys is like, "I don't have insurance. I'm scared." And we're like,
and he sounds old
puss.
too.
Yeah.
Sounds like he should get.
He actually sounds like he's like,
He sounds like a 90.
insurance. I can't do it. I wanted to make him sound like a bitch.
Yeah.
He's like this jacked, super in shape guy. He's like, I don't want it to happen. I might fall off.
So yeah, I wanted to the one thing I wanted to bring up. We've been I had this TikTok that's getting me in a little bit of trouble right now.
Oh, no, what
But it was
happened?
very interesting. It's going to be getting in trouble on TikTok is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like unlike Twitter, like it just kind of it lives in its own bubble.
Mm-hmm.
But people were making videos. It's a pedophile joke about
Uh-huh.
R. Kelly, and I'm sorry he got convicted. Russell, I know that was a tough one for you.
Russell, I'm sorry, man. Here, I'll pour one out for you,
Big,
boy.
big R. Kelly guy.
yeah. That'd be.
That'd be funny if that's the one hill you choose to die
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
An R. Kelly purist.
I do like when someone has like one opinion that you're like, whoa. Like
Yeah.
we're all in line to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it to be R. Kelly though.
No,
I would
no,
want
no.
to be something
No.
a little cuter.
But you got like, so you sent me
it's
this
this
thing.
R.
What
Kelly.
happened?
It's this pedophile joke, and it's about vocabulary.
What's the joke?
The joke. I mean, it's essentially the difference between the word pedophile, hebebophile, and ephebophile. And the reason we don't make those distinctions because it's hard to explain the difference without sounding like a pedophile. And it's like. I do it at the end of the Comedy Central set, so I'm sure it's going to get another loop of this kind of thing. But some people, they're like, don't know. They the moment you say pedophile and it's a joke, they're like, you're making light of pedophilia.
Well, wait, what are the differences between those three terms?
So pedophile is you're attracted to people who are prepubescent. Then hebophile is early puberty, which is like 11, 12, 13, 14 range. Ephebophile is 15, 16, 17, 18. And so, it's like this long where you go through that and everyone's like, why is he telling me this? I say,
Right.
the reason we don't use those distinctions because it's hard to talk about it without sounding like a pedophile. So this
Right.
woman made this long TikTok about like,
Long. I didn't know
that-
TikToks
that-
could be that long.
Yeah, they can be 3 minutes now.
Nuh-uh,
Just for
really?
people like this. Yeah, it
Really
used to be a
long.
minute. Now it can be 3 minutes.
Wow.
And she challenged you
She
to
challenged
a comedy.
to a comedy
duel.
off. She said,
Nuh-uh.
we'll get a stage. I'm gonna tear down the roof. I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
She's literally describing Caroline's March Madness.
I'd love.
She said any
This
crowd.
is one big push for Louis Miranda's March Madness 2022. Congrats, man.
Oh my God! Though, did you know about the March Madness? Did you ever do it?
No.
I've heard about it.
I did it. I was too young. I was. I wasn't.
I was supposed to
quite
do
ready.
it, and then I got like a row gig, and I was like, I can't. And all my buddies like busted my balls, like, you're scared. I was like, yeah.
So if people who haven't heard it, March Madness was like, I think it used to be like a big real feather in your cap. It was kind of dying down by the time I got to it, where March Madness style, where each comedian does 1 minute each,
Yes.
and that's the round that sucks. That's the one where it's like could go either way.
Yeah.
And then it increases in time length each round.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there's definitely a lot of like who goes first, who goes second. You generally don't want to. Going second is I would pick every time.
Right.
And I remember the first year I did it. Oh God, I forget his name. He does the Irish podcast, Irish Goodbye.
Mike Feeney?
Mike Feeney.
Okay.
Mike Feeney, he went after me, and I was very new at comedy. And Mike Feeney, just before his set, went, and we were like last. The first round is the worst because it's like 32 1-minute sets with applause break meter in between. It is the worst concept for a show, that first round. And when it got to Mike Feeney, he said, "Oh, I hate this." And it murdered. He just said, "I hate this." And the crowd went ape shit wild.
We hate it too.
And especially when you're like a new comic, you're like, you almost have a sense of being like, wait, that can't count. Right? You can't. That wasn't a joke.
That's not a joke.
He just recognized that everyone's miserable and called attention to it. And you go, no, that's the most important.
Is what a comic does.
Yeah.
You recognize things and call attention to it.
So yeah, I did it twice.
What did you do?
No, I did. So he went second. And he just won.
Oh, right.
He just won.
Right.
And then it sucks.
But this woman, she challenged
She challenged me. I would take this woman on. So she was talking about, how dare you defend pedophiles and people who like this video.
She
You're
sounds
defending
hilarious.
No, but then this is the greatest thing.
So first, at the end of the video, then she's like, this is minute.
She's very
5.
angry.
She's like, you must have been touched by a priest. He tickled your little pickle, and I'm like, that's a pedophile joke.
Yeah.
Now you're making a pedophile joke.
She did say, she did do that, and
Tickle,
she also
tickle
said,
pickle.
tickle pickle.
That's
Yeah,
some middle
and
school.
she also said, "Mark my words. 1 year from today, knock, knock, knock. Who is it? It's the FBI. They're arresting Gianmarco Soresi." Like she was like,
rules.
so.
I love the mentally ill on the internet. It's
It
fun.
really is like very like and what he sent me this thing, and I was like, this is wild, and I was like, well, let's just see what her deal is.
Yeah.
And
Russell watched every TikTok she's ever made.
It was crazy because there was nothing that lined up with that thing. She has videos of her doing a reoccurring character as an Asian woman. She's a white woman. But doing a full Asian accent and like with the caption "Stop Asian Hate."
Yes.
And like through jokes on it.
I love it.
I've never seen someone who was
I love it.
I've never seen someone who was so like outwardly woke, saying I'm woke, and also or the captions was like, "Don't put people in a box. Not all Asian people are like this." And then would do a super racist character.
No, white.
No, she's white.
White, and the other thing about her that's fascinating is she does a black accent a lot of times because she was adopted by 2 black queens, and so she
That's her phrasing. You said it like it was like.
Oh no, sorry. They're drag like
Who are your
Phoebe
moms?
Robertson
They were 2 black
adopted her. No, like so that's her phrasing. So 2 black women adopted her. So she does a lot of content on the problem with being white when you're raised as black.
Oh, for that huge demo.
And so it was just everything I watched.
Dude, this chick rules.
Oh, I was like, actually, she is funnier than she's gonna beat you on stage. Because I was like, the final
Depending
one.
on the room, if it was like an LOL, those accents crush.
Oh,
dude.
man.
She could just do an Asian accent 15 minutes.
Holy crap, dude.
And then at the end be like, "That's racist, guys. Good night."
The final one that I watched though is the best one. And
will you send me her thing?
I will
wanna
absolutely.
watch it with my girlfriend.
She's talking about angry gay men.
Yes.
And she goes, oh, these angry gay men coming after me. Don't come after me because there's no one angrier and gayer than my brother. Rest in peace.
No.
Love you, Jackie.
That's awesome.
Oh, and I was like, it was,
I love
it was
that.
so good.
It's so unhinged.
That's great.
No,
that I'm
she's
like,
mentally
I
unwell.
can't.
Yes,
She's mentally
yes,
unwell.
totally.
So I feel, but it's
Well, I had the
content.
thought, I was like, that would be fun to stage.
Wait, someone
to do
on
this.
TikTok mentally unwell? Get out of here. Who'd have thunk it?
That's
But
my
it's just funny
fan
that she
base.
got so mad. None of her other things are
That's
like mad like
awesome.
that. So she like, and she had a pro Michael Jackson video to her dancing to Michael Jackson and defending Michael Jackson. That's what was crazy about
Oh,
it.
dude,
Like,
the call is
just-
coming from inside the house with this woman.
Michael, I got to tell you, I keep, Halloween's coming around, which means Michael Jackson starts playing all the time. And I do,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
is a part of me that sometimes goes like, do we all understand that this is crazy? That like we have that we're still Michael Jackson he was a pedophile.
Right.
And there is this thing of like, you're not supposed to listen to, here's my example. I think of like, if I were out on the street and I was playing like an old Louis C.K. album, I know friends who would go like, what the fuck are you doing? And then we'll go play Thriller. And I'm just like, okay.
Right.
Are we all aware?
We're all agreeing that
it's one of those
fine
cognitive
with him.
dissonances that everyone is like just accepted fully.
Dude.
And they
But you're
play
not
it like,
asking
I
people
love
to-
this. And I'm like, he was.
But
Yeah,
you're not.
yeah.
Are you asking people to not listen, or are you just asking us to acknowledge that?
I'm just
it's
asking people
the
to like
double
chill
standard.
out about like whatever media or content someone wants to consume. It just doesn't match to me. There's just something that doesn't match.
I see what you're saying. You're saying it is hypocritical of them to be like, turn that Louis bit off.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
let's go do the Thriller dance.
At every
I think
wedding,
it's-
still.
at every wedding.
Dude,
Yeah.
I totally agree, and I will add on the fact that I do not give a fuck what the artist has done. I will still enjoy it if I've always enjoyed it, with the exception of Cosby or R. Kelly. But I will not be at a party and be like, turn that off. If
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
has it on, I'll be like, well, I'm certainly not going to dance to it, but I'm
Someone's
not gonna,
playing the Cosby Show.
A non-dance protest.
I'm just very of the mind of like, who cares?
I don't disagree. There's just something about like people like singing along to him singing
Right.
PYT, Pretty Young
Right,
Thing, and just
right.
going like, I don't understand how it synthesizes with the world that you've created. I agree. I
Yeah.
would still listen to. I don't give a fuck. Listen to R. Kelly. He was a song credit on the new Drake album.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Well,
It was
you
just
know
all-
Drake is that little Millie Bobby Brown
So
thing.
what is that thing? Like he was just friends with this.
I don't.
Oh, that's her right now.
That's one of R. Kelly's dates.
Oh my!
Oh my God. That is so loud, though.
There's a child screaming. Whatchamacallit? Oh yeah. Apparently he like has been friends with her for years, and like someone was like deciphering his lyrics that they could apply to her, because like he has a lyric that's like, pussy so good it was worth the wait, and like and he mentions a date, a specific date, and talks about that's the glow up and it's her birthday.
Oh no!
And I don't know if that's
Wait,
like,
these sounds like very damning lyrics. I was
don't
expecting a
know.
little more
I don't
subtlety.
know. I don't
And it was
know.
like, it's her birthday.
name is Millie
here's
Bobby
another
Brown.
lyric that's like, I fucked Millie Bobby Brown the day she turned 18.
Oh God!
I loved your impression of rap just there, really quickly.
Oh,
Her name was Millie Bobby Brown. I don't know what era of rap that was from.
Oh God, that rules.
Um,
That's awesome. I don't know. I agree with you though, dude. So I play music on my bike when I ride, and this dude. Do you guys know Ryan Adams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he got in trouble.
I know.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite
What did he get in
artists.
trouble for?
Whatever. Being like abusive.
Yeah, he
and,
was
like,
married to what's her
Mandy
name?
Moore,
Yes,
and like
yes.
abusing his power dynamic with
Yes.
Mandy Moore?
other women.
Yeah,
No,
and
not Mandy Moore.
I think there was weird things in their marriage, but also yes, other women
yeah.
were more.
And
were
so
in upper
it's like,
hand.
with that, it's like, okay, I'm not gonna buy tickets to see him live. I'm not gonna buy his album, but I'll listen on Spotify. You know,
they're getting no
Because
money
they're not
from that.
paying any money,
Yeah.
so it's okay.
Yeah. So I'm listening to it on my bike, and some guy rolls up next to me and goes, "Ryan Adams, really? Come on, man! Don't you know he was canceled?" And I go, "Hey, don't you know I don't give a fuck? I've always liked him, and I'm not gonna let something outside of my control what I listen to." And he goes, "Yeah, you're right. His new album's really good." And I was like, "Holy shit, dude!" That's what all this shit is. People just want to be perceived as good, but in reality,
He's
to the
listened to it
album.
privately, and he's just like, "You can't do that
Yeah.
out loud."
yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I didn't back down, he's like, "Yeah, he's still pretty good." Blew my mind, dude. Yeah.
yeah,
That's incredible. And then that guy went back and listened to Thriller and did the whole dance. I think the other thing with this TikTok woman, which I always think is interesting with like the joking aspect, where they're like the FBI is gonna come knocking, and I'm like, let me tell you what pedophiles don't do. They don't announce it. They don't joke about it. I mean, like there's just
well, apparently they write songs about it, but
Yeah.
they write
Yeah.
songs. They don't joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
write songs.
Yes.
That's the one you got to look out for. It's always fascinating to me that nobody learned the lesson from Cosby of that their artwork does not reflect who they are.
Totally.
And people still occasionally they quote, I don't know who said, maybe it was Maya Angelou, where when someone says who they are, trust them. And like people use that on comedy sometimes. You're like, you don't know.
Right.
You just don't know. And you got to accept it and stop pretending.
Yes.
That
I mean, Vince Jam, great example.
Tell me who's this?
He was a clean comic,
know
Christian
him.
college comedian.
I don't think I know this guy.
Was a complete rapist.
Oh.
And he was Mr. Squeaky Clean Comic. You know?
Yeah.
I'm of the mind of like the more you are yourself openly, the more no one can like be surprised.
Yeah.
You know? As long as you're like authentically yourself and like a good person.
Yeah.
You know, like like Pryor, it's funny looking at Pryor. He was like, yeah, I beat women and I steal and I'm a drug addict. People are like, well, at least he's honest. You know?
There was another, John Crist was the recent one. Did you hear about him?
Crist, I've heard that name.
He was a super Christian comic. Was like telling women to, fuck him, cheat on their husbands for tickets or
What?
whatever. And
What
then
a
he
scumbag.
Yeah, and he was supposed to have like a Netflix special, like he was like, it was one of those right on the cusp of,
Right.
and then when he came back, he became like an anti-woke.
Of course. Like
comic.
Jamie Kilstein.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple comics right now. I see that hard pivot into it.
Yeah.
And I whenever it's a hard pivot, I'm like, do you fully feel this way? If you don't you get tired?
I
of
imagine that
right.
it's partly like, well, they'll accept me, and partly like you are probably angry at like, well, no, like
I've seen some that I'm like, man, that must be exhausting having to just play to that all the time.
Oh my God.
And now that's who you are, and even if you deviate away from this new fan base you've cultivated, is like, no, what? No, you can't think that way.
Plus, you need those fans now too. Like
That audience is not
anytime
the audience
reading
you
those
want.
comments from your fans now, you're like, you gotta on some level be
know.
like, good fuck,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Did I do?
Totally.
Oh my God.
I know. It's kind of like raising your kid and then like just like giving them like no rules, and when they turn out shitty, you're like, fuck, I kind of did this.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
So for those, if this is your first episode somehow, this is The Downside, where we talk about all the negatives, all the sad things in life. We
I'm
focus
excited
on
because I always like to put a positive spin on things.
Good. Well, feel free. A new turn over a new leaf. Show us the underbelly to all your positivity. If you enjoy the show, please check out the Patreon. It's patreon.com/downside. You get early episodes, bonus episodes, other little goodies. But we're growing and we're feeling good. Again, that's patreon.com/downside. So you grew up in Delaware?
Yes.
Do you enjoy that? Delaware, Wilmington? That's where you
Yeah.
started?
I started comedy in Philly.
But like life. You started
Oh
life
yeah,
in
I started
Wilmington.
life in Delaware. Loved it.
You
Great.
All right,
Yeah.
you're already fucking it up.
Yeah.
What did you not like about Delaware?
I mean, it was limited in a way but really it's the same in Delaware as it is where you grew up. I mean, I'm talking about like suburban life in a way outside of the city. Obviously there's a different experience if you grew up in a city, but I feel like, everyone does the same things but in different places. Whereas me and my friends would hang out in a Taco Bell parking lot, you and your friends may have hung out in an AMC parking lot, but it was still the kind of the same thing of like just really nothing to do, so you make your own fun, you know?
Yeah.
And you either get into a lot of trouble or you play video games in a friend's basement.
See, I was the video games kid.
So was I,
Uh-huh.
but I was also getting a lot of trouble guy. So I did both.
From a young age, were you trouble
Yeah,
kid?
I was an ornery kid. Growing up, I was like an ornery kid, full of love, full of laughter, full of life, energy. And then,
What happened?
my dad died when I was 8. And after that kind of put this like anger and kind of like not negative, but just like I really started acting out, you know? And then
when your dad died, did you go to therapy like immediately? Like, what was your mom's reaction to that?
It was, we went to group therapy and I like hated it and I didn't even grasp like what it was. And
the
like,
therapy, like
therapy,
what you were doing.
like, and also I was like the youngest one there. I was 8 and everyone was like older and like I just couldn't relate. And
I thought it was just like
weird.
you and your mom. It was a big
No.
group.
Oh yeah, it was a church group. So like my mom went with the adults and I went with like the young adults, and I was 8, and everyone's like, you know, in their teens, late teens.
And were they
early
all
20s.
Was this like about a dead parent specifically?
No, I was the only one with a dead parent. Everyone was like, I lost my, well, you know, some were like, I lost like a brother or like, you know, a grandparent or whatever. But I just remember being like, you know, I just really hated it because I could tell I was getting treated with kid gloves in a way of like, I could tell I was getting sympathy from people that didn't know me, didn't know my situation, and I hated that. And so I like, you know, like they had like a raffle for like Christmas gifts, and I like won, and I gave it back and was like, give this to someone that needs it. Like, I don't need this. Like, I was
What was
like,
the gift?
it was just like football stuff. And I was like,
I would have given that back too.
I was like, well, I already have football stuff. And I flat out was like, this is going to bring my dad back. I don't want this.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't want any of this. So I was like very against like getting gifts and stuff because I could tell that was a way to like make up for what you lost.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you'll
yeah.
never make up for it. And even at 8, I was like, I do not want this.
And this
Yeah.
raffle was part of the group. It's just such a broad. I feel
Well,
like
it was-
if I
it
had a
was-
kid, it'd be like, we need a one-on-one therapy specifically for you.
Well, that was like later. But also, dude, it's like nobody knows how to deal with that. My mother was
course.
40.
Yeah.
Her husband just died. She's got a kid that is already like needs to be injected intravenously with ADHD medication.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, what are you going to do? So my mom was just like, okay, let's try this.
Yeah,
and,
for
you know, it was
sure,
like a
yeah.
nightmare, you know?
Yeah.
And then every couple years it was like therapy again. And I hated it. And I very much Matt Damon'd everything where like they would try to get deeper and I would just totally surface talk everything. Like I would
Yeah.
never ever get deeper than like, you know, this is what happened at school today. You know, how does that make you feel? I don't know. Like I just wouldn't like, dude, one time I showed up to the psychiatrist and I put dots all over my arm and pretend to nod out from heroin. And I like
How
refused
old
to
were you
talk
at this
to
point?
him. I don't know. I was like 11 or 12.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I hated these people. I
So
hated
you put your just and you were just like,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
he's like, well, we know you
I
didn't
was,
do heroin.
I was like 12 or 13. Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was like
Still-
just getting
still
into the
too young for-
Deftones and like Corn and everything.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
you're like, let's
Yeah.
give them something.
Well, I wanted to like
talk
do
about.
drugs so bad. Like I would like beg older cousins and stuff for drugs, and they would never give it to me.
Good.
I was in like 6th or 7th grade, and I'm like, "Give me weed, give me acid," and they're
Yeah.
like, "No," you know.
How old are you?
36.
36. I'm
old are you?
33. I was just thinking about like the drug, like the anti-drug campaigns.
Yeah.
As much as I understand they don't work, or I didn't have DARE, but they worked on me. Like I was very much from an early age. I was like, I'm not touching drugs. They really associated for me drugs with like your life is a disaster,
Yeah,
and it worked for me that I would be way too scared
Yeah,
to do any of it. So, but you, when you were younger, you wanted, what was it, alcohol or weed?
Yeah, like I wanted to do weed. Like my cousin got me into Wu-Tang Clan. I like really wanted to like smoke a blunt.
Yeah.
But like he
Yeah.
got me into the music, but he wouldn't get me into the drugs. I was like pissed, you know. And then my like friends I hung out with like a really bad group of kids, and they would like my mom, to her credit, wouldn't let me hang out with them outside of school because she knew they were like bad kids. And like my friend's older brother would like give him weed, and we were in like 7th grade, and they
wild.
like wanted me to give them my like Ritalin, and they would give me weed, and my mom like never let me hang out with them, never let me like. So to her credit, my mom was like slick. She knew the score, you know, so she kind of like kept me away from those kids.
So when did you first get some? When you got that
Weed?
big fat joint?
Oh, dude, I was like 14. I got high. I immediately told this kid, I was like, if you give me more weed, I don't have money now, but my grandmother gives me money for Christmas every year. I'll give it to you when she gives me my Christmas check.
You're going back to the church. You're like, give me that
Dude,
football
it
gear.
was-
Give me that football gear
I
for the
mean,
raffle.
bro,
I'm going to
it
sell this
was
for some more
off
weed.
to the races off the bat, you know, like straight up, like passed out in my friend's front yard. My grandfather picked me up. I'm like puking. I'm like, I found a worm in my chicken nugget earlier tonight. You know, like lying, just like
That was the lie that you went to. A worm in your chicken nugget.
yeah, well,
food
legit. That
poisoning or-
night we found a worm in my chicken nugget
How convenient.
at Burger King.
I think about the couple times that I came home drunk in high school and like saw my parents in the living room like, I'm going to go to bed. And I thought I was passing it off. And I'm like, oh, I was probably like,
oh, dude.
they saw me and they're like, this fucking kid.
New Year's Eve, 8th grade, my friends and I did a bunch of like Jello shots. And my mom picked me up. I fell out of our truck on the ground. I went inside. I tried to fight my stepdad. Like it was, I mean, from the jump, I was like fucking nuts when it came to like drugs and alcohol. Yeah.
And do you think, in your mind, I know you can't answer it, but do you think it was related to your dad dying, or do you think you have like that desire for drugs inside
I'm
of you?
predisposed to drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a family of alcoholism and drug addiction. So I already am predisposed. At the same time, you know, I did drink when I was in like 8th and 9th grade. Very, not like every weekend or whatever, but a fair amount. Stopped. Didn't start again until I was like 21. And then that's when it was off to the races. That's when the sadness kicked in. That's when I could finally cry and like feel emotion about it. Because I would always, like every year around the time of his anniversary, that's when I would like,
The anniversary of him
dying. Well, his birthday's 10 days before he died. So the whole month of May was just like horrible every year. So that's when I would release the pressure valve and like let it all out and then bottle it up for the rest of the year. And then that was like my little like, you know, week period of like, oh, I'm allowed to be sad, because I never knew you could just be sad. I always felt like you had a reason.
Yeah.
And also I, you know, am manic depressive. I have, you know, major depressive disorder, and I didn't know that. I just thought that like I was different from everyone else, or like I guess everyone does this, they just don't tell anyone about it, so I'm not going to tell anyone about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I would bottle that all up, and then alcohol finally let me be sad all the time. And I could like finally cry when I was drunk. I could finally like feel emotion when I was drunk. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No.
It's hard for me. I've always been, I think the reason I never drank a lot, I only really want to drink if I'm in a good mood. Something about, I don't know, I don't want to be sad. And so I've very rarely been sad and
Well, I
drunk.
felt so much sadness inside of me that I couldn't let it out as sadness,
It's a
because I felt
permission,
like that
like-
wasn't wrong. So I would let it out in anger. So I was like very angry, and like when I would drink, I would like get in fights, and you know, like it was just all unmanaged grief.
Yeah.
You know, it was all unmanaged feelings of sadness, being scared, an inability to accept, you know, and like at the same time, I thought I was gay, and you know, I was so afraid of that. So
I just
would,
love
like,
all this happening, and in therapy, you're like, I'm good.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
fine.
but I didn't know how to articulate.
Of course,
this is all
no,
hindsight.
But this-
this is all hindsight.
Well,
Of course,
I did the same thing when I did therapy as a kid, and I feel like you just there must be savvier therapists out there who can like get it out of you. But like I felt like my therapist, it was one of these things where they were dependent on me to like bring it to the table.
Yeah.
And now I do that at 33. But when you're a kid, you're like, you need someone real sly to like ask them about music, like to really unlock these things.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm very. So your mom, is she still? Do you still have a stepdad?
Alive?
No. Is your mom still alive?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But is this the same stepdad you tried to fight on New
they got
Year's?
divorced.
They got divorced.
Yeah.
But what was it like? How long after? So you were 8 when your dad died.
Mm-hmm.
How long after until your mom started dating again?
A couple years.
And do you?
And I couldn't accept it at all. I was like
Of course
real
not.
bad kid about it. You know, I was like, I didn't handle it well. You know.
Wait, how could you? I mean, I didn't handle it well with parents alive. Still.
Yeah.
Do you remember was this like the guy that she married? Was that the first like serious boyfriend?
Basically, yeah.
And you hate it from the get. You were like, fuck,
Totally.
you.
And he was such a good man and like such a good guy that I just couldn't recognize at the time. Like there was no way he was winning. There was no way anyone would have won. My mom could have, you know, dated my favorite baseball player, and I'd been like, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no way you're gonna win, you know? And I don't know, man. It was just, you know. But, you know, that's the downside. The upside is that today I've really found like gratitude for it all. You know, it was always like, why, with like sadness, poor me. But now it's like, oh, I know why, because it made me who I am. I had to go through that to get to where I am, and I'm really happy with where I am. So I'm grateful for it, you know?
Good. So you bipolar? Is that what you were? Are you bipolar?
Yeah.
And when was
bipolar
that
2.
diagnosis?
2016.
2016. Wow.
Yeah.
That is. Do you wish? God, I wish I'd known that sooner.
It would have really made a lot of sense.
Yeah. When did you stop?
But at the same time, though, those like symptoms don't fully develop until later in life. You know,
What
so
is
these
the
things
average
kept-
age? Like college? Like
Yeah, around that time. So these things kept happening, and I was like, oh, that's weird. You know.
Like what? Like what? Is it just the emotional swings?
Yeah, or just like not being able to get out of bed for like days, and like these massive swings. I've always been like energetic.
Yeah.
And then I would just have
See,
these
I think the thing is, I
downturns.
only see you, you know, when you're on stage or when we're in comedy spaces. So I
Totally,
see
totally.
just the kind of the energized version.
And I never, ever let that down period be reflected publicly. Like, I don't want anyone to see that. I mean, I will talk about it. And
Yeah.
obviously it's a part of my life, but I'm never going to show people publicly that, because I feel like that's a very, I mean, like, we live our lives like publicly or whatever, but there are things I need for me, and I keep that boundary up where instead of just showing it, I'll just kind of disappear and cancel things and just whatever, instead of like, I'll talk about once I go through it. I don't want to talk about it while it's so close to me, you know?
Yeah.
And I never want to bum people out. Like, you know, and look, like, this is very much goes back to my childhood of like, when people would see me upset, they would be upset. You know, when you're a kid and you notice that if you mention your dad is dead and all the adults around you start to cry, you feel bad, and you're like, okay, don't do that.
Yeah.
So
Holy shit.
my whole life, it's been a thing of like, don't show anyone that you're sad, because that makes other people sad. And the last thing I want is for, and like, I'm grateful for my following. I'm grateful for people to dig me, but like, the last thing I want is for people I don't know to feel that they know, even though they may be doing it from a good place, but to go, hey, are you all right? Hey, I hope you're okay. Hey, this. And it's like, I don't need that. I have a very close circle that I can go to. I don't want anyone to worry. That's like my big thing. I never want anyone to worry about me. That's like the big butting head things with my mom too. It's like, don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. Never worry about me, you know? So I very much take care of that on my own, and like never let that stuff come out. But in terms of being on stage, I've gotten a lot better with, it's weird, man. Like, I'll talk about it on stage and let it filter in a way on stage, but I won't let anyone in on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Let's
And also, I hate bummers. I hate when you talk to someone, you're like, hey, what's up? They're like, oh, I got this going on, blah, blah. I'm like, shut up. Fucking.
See, that's what's so crazy.
Shut the fuck up.
I can be a bummer sometimes.
I don't like it.
I know. I don't
Be
like
a
it
bummer
either.
with your pals, not a fucking, you know, whatever show we're doing.
I don't think you would go into if you didn't know someone. If you didn't like, I think if you were meeting someone on a surface thing or like, I don't think
Sure.
you'd go fully into it. you know?
Well, I had my dad. My dad just had this surgery, and it was, you know, I went through my head like if my dad's dead, and I thought like this idea of like, oh, I'll be a person whose father is dead. Like, it was an identity shift, or like the thought of like having to tell everyone that.
Yeah, I
And-
think I would just disappear for a while. I don't know if I could like process it in real time. And some people do, and I like really applaud them. But I don't know. I don't know. It's very strange, you know?
Yeah.
But I will say, like, during I had an incredibly difficult pandemic for a lot of personal reasons, and it was like so because I am a very energetic and happy whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just gutted, and so many people would take me aside and be like, dude, are you all right? Like, you have a cloud over you, I can tell. And I'd be like, yeah, it's all right, man, I'm just fix it later, it's fine.
Yeah.
You know? And like, I had to get a couple talking tos from people that are like, you gotta really, like, you walk into a room, you used to light it up, and now you were bumming everyone
Oh,
out. I'm like,
man.
oh fuck.
And you
Like,
had
my
no
energy
idea. You
was
had no
just-
idea that was that.
No,
was
I knew.
Oh, okay.
I totally knew.
Well, yeah.
like I couldn't.
but
I
that it was
couldn't put on a brave
transferring.
face.
Oh, okay.
Like I couldn't even
Yeah.
put on a brave face. You know.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
It's like, what do you do? You know, I don't know. It's like difficult. And I'm still learning with like my depressive states and everything. My go-to is to just not let people see it. And I'm getting better at slowly letting people know. Like even in my personal life, I wouldn't let anyone know. I would just like disappear. And now I'm getting so much better at being like, I'm really struggling right now. Do you have time to hear me? You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
And, like talking to someone instead of just being like, everything's fine, gotta go.
Yeah.
You know, so like I think because I'm still growing and learning, and I think once I master that with myself and my personal circles, I think I will then be able to have that translate better outside. But for now, it's like still growing pains.
Yeah.
I think, you know.
Yeah, for
Even
sure.
though I'm like 36, I feel like I know this stuff way better. Like I can feel it coming on, so I know what to do to address it instead of it just coming on and me being like, I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
And are you on medication stuff right now for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it specific to bipolar disorder, antidepressants
Yeah, I'm on
too?
Lamotrigine, Zoloft, and Effexor, which have helped massively. And this whole past year, right before the pandemic, I didn't know the pandemic was going to happen. But I got off my antidepressants because it was making it hard to come.
Yeah.
So I was like, Doc, I need a different antidepressant. So we put me on something else. And then that like didn't work. So during the entire pandemic, I'm med shifting and like getting put on this, and you got to be on it for like 6 weeks and side
Yeah.
effects. That doesn't work. Let's try this.
Well, I don't know. I'm currently in a phase of life. I've never really done antidepressants. And then I always, whenever something, it's one of these things. It starts dipping low. I'm like, I start talking to my therapist. We start lining the thing up, and then I'm like, I'm doing better now. But I think it's time. And I tried once Lexapro, and I did it. First, I went to the person who prescribed it, and it was very frustrating because like he didn't give me anything concrete. Like when I was asking him about the different medications, and it was I can't even imagine with multiple medications, because he'd be like, well, this sometimes some people say it makes them feel like this, and this sometimes makes it feel like this, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It felt like I was like talking to not a doctor, but like an English professor. Like it was interpretations
That's
and
gnarly.
metaphors, and it
and
was
half of them
very
don't even know. In order to get on the medication I'm on now, that has like, I finally found the God code of like what works for
Yeah.
me. I legit had to go to this guy and be like, I've read about this. I'm on an SSRI. I need to be on an SNRI. I've heard of this medication. I would like to try this rather than this. And he's like, okay, we can give that a shot. Sure. Okay. Blah, blah.
Wow,
and
yeah,
I'm like,
you'd be
you
really
are a fucking
proactive.
moron, dude.
Yeah.
I think that's why those commercials are like, ask your doctor about blah, blah.
But that's why you get
doctor
skeptical.
doesn't
Yeah.
fucking know.
Yeah.
You get skeptical of those commercials too, because then you're just like, well, these are all these pharma companies pushing these drugs,
Right.
And I don't know. When I talked to this guy, I didn't know if he was like a moron, or I was like, is this just the loosest science in the world? It just,
Dude, I could have legitimately been like, hey, I've heard of heroin, and it's really good for kind of mood stabilization. You would have been like, okay, we can try on maybe 50 megs of heroin. Sure, let's give this a shot.
you give me an SSRI. I want a fucking needle in the arm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, SSRI, the I is insert that needle in my vein, you fucking quack. I mean, but also this motherfucker sits in his office. Like, I checked myself into an outpatient drug and alcohol rehab center in 2015, and that's where I still go for my psychiatrist because it's in my insurance plan. So this guy is seeing a million patients, like 1 day a week is in the office. So he's not, I'm not dealing with an intense, like,
Yes.
and he's like the 10th psychiatrist I've had. This motherfucker sits in his office. He wears 2 masks indoors, is constantly like, sanitizing his hands. And I'm like, you fucking loser. Just give me my drugs and get me out of here, you know?
And
I'm
the other thing.
like, look at me. I am the psychiatrist now.
And then there's like, when I think about the antidepressant, I'm like the side effects. So this side effect, you couldn't come.
I
would
could.
take-
It just took a while. And like, it got to a point where things were so fucked up for the past year, medically, emotionally, and everything, with a lot of shit I had going on, that I said to him, like, I don't even care. I don't care if I never come again. I need to be on this medication, blah, blah, blah. And it's antidepressants I liken to birth control, where, you know, it takes a couple weeks to a month or two to figure out if it works with your body. And in the interim, you're having these massive side effects. You're emotionally a rubber band getting pulled in all these directions, but you got to wait it out to see if it works. Oh, the side effects don't subside. Let's start it over again.
Yeah.
Let's try something new, you know?
Yeah.
And I really, really feel for so many women that are on birth control, because there's thousands of types of birth control, and it really fucks them up. And the same thing with medications, but you have to know that the ends justifies the means. I'm talking from my experience with antidepressants, but with birth control, it's like, just learn how to pull out. Like, it's not necessary for you to
Just learn how to pull out.
Yeah, you don't really have to come in your chick every time. Just fucking, you know, meet them halfway. Come on, pal. Yeah. And antidepressants are actually great, because it does take me a little while to come, and I can come from penetration, but I come a lot easier with my hand. So that's like a great form of birth control, because there's no chance of me coming inside you.
Yeah.
See, I just wear a condom. I
What?
never. Shut the fuck up. There's
What?
people who wear condoms. I'm always amazed how few people are wearing condoms.
The downside. Woo! Play the theme. Play the theme.
I never.
Almost I hit it.
I never understood. I never understood the jerk. To me, the jerk, the finishing yourself off. That's like, oh, you went through all this. You went out. You went out to dinner. You had a drinks. And you're gonna end it with masturbating. I've done that plenty.
But you'd rather have the
I don't need to
condom.
finish myself off.
Bro.
And I've done it thousands.
Bro.
Thousands
And
of
it's
times.
always good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it get bad? Does it get like not fun? But you prefer the
no.
condom though.
I've never
That's
been like,
interesting.
oh God, this
Bro,
again.
the finishing on them thing can be really romantic too, because
Romantic's the word you went with.
yes, because
You spell it a heart.
It forces a extra level of intimacy.
Yes.
Because you are finishing on your partner, and then it is your job to clean them up. And you can do it in a sensual or a fun way, and you laugh about it. It brings you closer together. It's really nice. Try it. And also, by the way,
I reach behind the bed for the towel that's
Ew, a
rock
towel,
hard.
buddy. You got to use a paper towel and throw it out. What do you?
Paper towel? That's not romantic.
We've talked about this so many
I
times.
use my merch.
The
I have
fact
hand
that
towel
you
merch.
have a towel just for cum. And then it gets dry.
Kind of weird, Jerry.
It's
Kind of weird.
It also feels very like, maybe if that feels delayed, that feels like something you do in middle school, high school.
Yes.
I think you need to grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
And
I
growing
agree.
up is using paper towels.
Get rid of
Yes.
it. Get rid of
you
it.
throw it out.
Paper towel or
Tissue.
or
You're
what do you-
keeping a cum
toilet
rag
paper?
in your house
Can I say-
at
can I say
33?
One of the grossest, one of the most embarrassing things I ever had. I once
Is
in a while, I
what
would,
we just
still having a
discussed.
cum rag at 33.
Yeah.
once in a while when I was like in high school, I would masturbate like with a condom, just like, and before I had sex,
yeah.
just because it was just like you're
sure.
doing
You
the
wanted to
thing
feel-
and you're putting
yeah,
it
yeah,
on,
yeah. No,
and
no.
it was also clean. And I think once I did it, and then I put the condom like in my room, like on a side thing.
no.
And so cut to many months later, my dad, my dad comes to me and he's like, so son,
I found
you
your
know,
collection.
when cum is like, or when a man finishes, like doing one of these, when a man finishes and it's left there, it can start to smell. And
God, I'm so glad my dad died.
and it was so embarrassing because it was a condom. So my dad
It
thought
smelled.
my dad thought I was having sex, and internally I had the shame of like, he doesn't even know I wasn't even having sex. It was just me alone with the condom.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I'm telling you, also, like, I have a huge fear if they're not on birth control and I'm wearing a condom. What if I come inside them and the condom breaks? That's so
I've
scary.
had the condom break one time in my whole life, and I must have had sex 20.
Oh, I hate that. Someone's got different equipment, all right? But
Oh, you just pop. These condoms are bursting. They just can't even.
I get them extra small, so I feel better about myself. That's like a fear of mine. And also, can I say, after a while, your pull-out game gets better, and you can like time it to where you can pull out and come even without your hand, or you can pull out and just go whip whoop. Poof. So it's not like you're sitting there jerking off for 10 minutes.
You're talking about this like it requires any kind of skill.
It does.
Your
it does.
pull-out game.
It does. It does.
You feel like you're going to come,
And
you pull out.
Can I tell
you
you?
came. I've
Can
been
I
doing
tell
it for
you?
years.
I have had so many intimate moments jerking off, kissing my partner, and like coming while I look in her eyes. Like that can be like wildly intimate, and you know, it's a way to change it up. I'm telling you, try it.
Yeah.
Try it. You
Try
don't
it.
always got to be condom guy. And also, I love going down on my chick, and the condom makes it taste weird.
I agree.
I don't like that.
I do it in the beginning. Get it out of the way.
Oh, I
I'm a
see.
freak. I'm doing it middle, after,
Yeah.
beginning.
You do limit yourself.
Well, mid.
by,
No, mid. Especially if you're I'm not on the antidepressants, so I don't have the taking too long to come problem.
Ah,
and then,
yes.
I remember when I first started, I was coming way too fast.
Oh,
And then I
totally.
remember the one day I was like, oh, I can stop having sex to chill out and go back down and then go back to the sex.
Yeah.
I remember like looking back, I'm like, you never thought of this before?
Yeah,
you
yeah,
thought the
yeah,
moment
yeah,
you went in
yeah.
there, you're like,
I'm here forever.
You're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
oh man, I had a rough.
But that's a
I had a
fun
rough
move
start.
because you can make them think like, God, I just gotta eat your pussy right now. But really, it's like self-preservation. you know? I've done that before where I'm like, humping and everything, and then I'm like, I just want to stay here. I just want to look at you. But really, it's like if I move an inch, I'm gonna fucking come, and I can't do that.
That's how Dirty Talk was created. It was just a stall.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
you
Just
so
a stall tactic. Nah, hey, give it a shot, man. What do you got to lose?
Well, okay, so get rid of the condom.
Yeah.
I do like imagining you have a checklist of like I do this step and then this step
Oh,
every
that's so
time. You know what I
funny.
mean? Like
It's the truth. I've only two people in my life have I ever had sex without a condom.
Really?
One like a very long term girlfriend,
Uh-huh.
and then one was it was a hookup after a show, and she
A one-night stand?
yes, and but she was. I mean, this is not.
She brought
good.
paperwork.
She was on top, and she got up and then took it off, and then went back down, and I had like that quick to think about if I was okay with it.
Without
check
your
in
consent?
before?
She did. It was not a check-in. It was
Oh.
boom.
Wow.
If
we
I-
just found a reverse Me Too.
Oh, she,
Tweet about it, sister.
It was nice, but
Say
it was
her name. Say her name.
I was like, I don't want to hear her name.
Shame her. Shame her.
oh, it
That's
was
great.
definitely not
Good for her. What a power move.
It is
Take
like
it back the night.
that's the take. Jesus Christ,
Pussy grabs back.
that's what I used to wipe the cum off of. Was a T-shirt that said "Pussy grabs back,"
Pussy grabs back.
and I said, "This is romantic." You see?
Yeah. We're in love. You're squeezing her like a teen fundraiser car wash.
I think the funny thing was we ended up hooking up the next she was in town, and we hooked up the next night, and because it had already happened, I felt like I was like, well, fuck it, if we already didn't use a condom, I won't use a condom again.
Yeah.
And so that time, I guess that's my answer. That I ended up
Have
being.
you ever
I guess,
talked to her
fine with
again?
it. No, but so for a while there was some Instagram communication, but I remember all I could think was, first I was scared of STDs, just a little, but then I was
Totally.
scared that she was pregnant, and so I would look at her Instagram stories, and the moment I saw her drinking alcohol, I felt this wave of relief, like, oh, okay, she's either not pregnant or a bad mom, and maybe we'll lose the baby.
Yeah.
And so I felt just so relaxed. But I had some friends at the time at the comedy club
scary.
who were always like, "Hey, you're gonna be a dad," and I was like, "I regret telling you any of
That
this
is
story."
that's
scary.
very scary. The pregnancy.
Well, that's why. But that's why I'm a condom guy, because like I have too much anxiety. I have too much anxiety about pregnancy and STDs, and
Well, that's why you need
with the
medication.
condom. Yeah, I'm gonna get on it. And then I won't be able to come at all. I won't need the towels anymore.
Yeah.
You won't be able
Look
to
at all
sell 'em.
these. Hey, this show's called The Downside, but we just found some upsides. We'll be right back after this. Theme.
Well, I do want to talk. I know your glory hole story. I'm very
Yes.
fascinated by glory holes. I mean, everyone is always curious that you hook up with men and
Yes.
Women and
Yes.
and
Of course.
But I've been listening. I've been listening to all your interviews where you've only
so
dated
sorry.
women. Yeah, I've heard every kind
I'm
of
sorry,
every
buddy.
dick stuck,
You
every
poor thing.
ass, everything. But so tell me, who did you first have sex with? A woman, a man? Well, what was your first sex?
I mean, the first time I had sex was with a woman, but I had been blowing a buddy of mine for years.
Just blowing him? Was he blowing you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
69
But we
too?
never kissed.
Never.
Yeah.
Not even on the cheek.
Nope.
Wow.
Oh, I tried. And he
Shut
that shit down.
How old is this?
We like hooked up from like 11 to 22, 23.
Oh, when did you suck your
That's
first
a
dick?
long time.
How old were you?
7th, 8th grade, I think.
That blows my mind.
Uh-huh.
I remember like in 7th grade, like I had a girlfriend, and I remember like asking if I could give her a hug,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and you're just blowing.
Publicly, I went to Titanic with my like 7th grade girlfriend. I kissed her on her temple because I didn't know how to kiss, and I was just looking at her, and she wouldn't look at me. I was like, well, I'm already here. Mwah. But meanwhile, I'm fucking, giving mouth hugs for fucking, my free time.
I also can't imagine how bad I would be. I mean, I'm sure I'd be bad at a blowjob now, just right out the
to
gate.
this day not good at blowjobs. I
Really?
hate it. I mean, like, in theory, it's like fun. That's why, like, whenever guys like, dude, if guys could blow each other, we know what we like. It's like, I don't know, man. In theory, yeah, but put one in your mouth and see what happens. There's a lot of mechanisms going on that you don't really put into your thought process.
I think the key, if I were to plan this out, if I were to give a blowjob, it would be the hand would come in pretty soon.
Mhm.
And once the hand is there, then it's all good.
Do you come quick from blowjobs?
No, I'll be honest with you.
There it is.
I'm not a big blowjob guy.
Yeah.
You are down there putting in work, and it's a lot. It takes a while. It ain't too fun.
That's
I
why the hand.
really
That's why
give
the hand.
credit to a lot of the gals.
My blowjob would very quickly turn into a tip in the mouth with a lot of jerking.
Yeah.
That's my blowjob technique.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but just in case someday if I have to blow a guy really fast, it's the hands are
Yeah.
coming out.
I mean,
Both
I
hands.
put on a watch on my hand. I'm doing it upside down to look at the time go by, going, all right, Paco, hurry this up, pal.
But that 10, 11-year thing with this friend.
It was like once a year.
Oh, okay.
It was like once or twice a year.
Gotcha.
Just on the birthday.
Very,
Just
yes, very secretive.
And
very.
does he still like date men and women or
I haven't talked to him in
even
years.
talk to him, you
Last
don't
I
know.
checked, he's got Jesus tattoos, very religious
okay,
family.
Gotcha.
I wonder if he talks
Bible
about
quotes
that
every
phase.
day for status updates on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You ever want to comment like
No,
Hey.
I want him to live his
No,
best,
yeah.
his best life.
yeah,
That
it sounds
is
like his
very
best life
funny
is
about the-
blowing.
No, but that is very funny about the not kissing. The
Oh, yeah.
rationale of like being like, no,
yeah,
I'm not
I have
doing
tons of
anything weird,
jokes
you know?
about it. Like, like kiss you. I'm not fucking gay. No,
Yeah.
put your boy mouth on my boy penis, like two straight men.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But what can you do?
Yeah.
So now to glory holes, because glory holes is just something.
Well, I will say before we get into that, I've talked about it a bunch. It is kind of a monkey's paw because that's like I don't really want to be known as like
The glory hole guy.
Glory hole
guy.
guy.
You don't want the title of this episode to
So
be
I've-
glory holes.
Please no.
Yeah.
Good God, no. No, that
Yeah. No, that
It's
makes
two
sense.
different directions, either dead dad or the glory hole. It's one of these two angles.
Let's just go with a good fun time, Ian. But it's like a thing of like it goes back to the bipolar and riding a bike in a way and drinking. A side effect of bipolar is like risky behavior, and sexually adventurous behavior. And I never really, again, like I said, I'm like still figuring a lot of this stuff out and growing and everything. And like when I drank, I loved engaging in risky behavior. My favorite part of drinking was not knowing where I was going to wake up. Like, you know, I would wake up on the street, like in gutters. Like I would drink to the point of like not being able to walk home. That's how I knew I had like a good night.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to see at the end of my night. I
Yeah.
wanted to drink myself blind. And part of being bipolar is sexually risky behaviors, you know, and I noticed that through like reflection, when I would go to these glory holes, when I would hook up with guys on the street, which is called cruising, you know, when I would like go to these public hookup spots and have these like crazy interactions, I was in like one of my mood swings. You know, I was like feeling like very low and depressed. So I was using these quick hookups as a form of danger, but a form to get high, to get out of that feeling I was feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason I think why I like riding a bike so much. It's because it gives me that like risk.
Sure, or stand up. I mean, stand up has a certain degree.
Totally.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
when
right.
you talk about cruising, because the first time we met, it was with Sam Morrison after he had metaphorically sucked your dick in front of me. That we met. It was outside the Soho Playhouse, and you and Sam like gave me about cruising, like you make eye contact.
I remember that.
And where you either like linger the eye contact, and that's like all you need to know to like, oh, this person might have some interest.
I remember that. Yeah. So I've cruised a ton. Like that's mostly how I've hooked up with guys, also on like apps and stuff. But that is a form of like risky behavior, and that's a form of behavior that is very old school gay. That a lot of it's way less mainstream than it used to be. You know.
Now, do you have a girlfriend right now?
I do. Yeah.
I'm very curious. When you start dating a woman, do they know right out the gate? I know plenty of women that if they were dating a guy who had been with other men, they have that judgment inside of them.
You're out.
You're out.
You're done, son.
But do you ever feel? Are you meeting people? Were you using dating apps when you meet women? Like, how do you make sure they? You know, it's just one of those things where like,
well, like
you want to
look,
find out who they are as quickly as you can.
Yeah, but I'm fucked, bro. You Google me, and my entire life is online.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, I'm not going to pull any punches. You're going to know who I am, and I'd rather you know who I am from me rather than looking me up. So I pride myself on being honest and open, you know, like not, you know, and it's funny because my gal is bi as well, and that's very much like a thing that helped us become closer because we understand what that's like and the judgment we felt and the uncertainty and self-hatred we felt from it and everything. So we kind of like bond over that. But I've very much been honest about it and had girls be like, no. And I'm like, okay, I understand it. You know, I don't agree with it, but I'm not going to
it's a strange, you're gay. That philosophy to me is so... It's horrible. So many people believe it.
Here's the thing. What's the segment where we talk about the thing that grinds your gears?
Stop?
This has got to stop.
Yeah.
That's my this has got to stop.
Let's fucking go to it.
Let's
Let's
go
go
right
to
into it. Yeah.
This has got to stop.
This has got to stop right out the gate. What do you got, Ian?
I fucking hate how people think if you've been with a guy, you're gay. Or because you're with a girl, you're no longer bi. Or, you know, if you like... I really, really dislike the discourse on all this because I feel like bisexual men get shit on so much more, yet we're living in this wildly accepting time where everyone is allowed to be whoever they want, however they want, define what you are. And then when you go, yeah, well, look, man, I fucked guys, but I'm in a monogamous relationship with a woman. People are like, well, you're a liar. You're secretly gay.
Yeah.
So you're not gay anymore? Well, I was never gay. Yeah, but you've been with a guy. That doesn't make me fucking gay. It really pisses me off. And if there can be 72 different genders, why can there not be multiple shades of sexuality? Everyone wants to live in this non-binary society when it comes to gender, but when you bring up a non-binary sexuality, people look at you as if you're an insane person. And it really bothers me.
I also think it's crazy because we've had years now of feeling like we're in this post thing where this is happening, and it feels like whenever you whenever someone says something like that, it just feels like, what are you? It feels like it's in the 90s. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it feels like there's been such a double standard where
Massive
it feels like
double standard.
people can totally get on board being like, yeah, women bi. Like, and it really feels like there's a thing where they can't, and you're like, it just feels like it's, I don't understand why it's that much. The leap is,
I think
because bigger.
Well, I just know men men who like, I just feel like I hear more often men being like, I could never kiss another guy. So like, and they do that partially to like reaffirm their own masculinity. So they make it seem like, well, if you're straight, that's unfathomable to you. So if someone even toys with it, it's like, well, clearly.
Yeah.
I just wish, I hope we eventually go to a place where people more accept their, maybe not you maybe not call it bisexuality, but like, I find men attractive. There's certain men that I think are very attractive, and it's just a line of.
I feel like the term bisexual just puts this thing in people's head, and then they came out with pansexual, and I'm like, well, that's just a form of bi erasure. I'm just me, and I do what I want when I want with who I want.
Right.
And I don't want because when you put a label on it, it puts you in a camp. And it's very interesting that women can hook up with women, but they're still straight. They're just fun. Gay guys can hook up with women, but they're still gay. A guy that hooks up with women hooks up with a guy and he's fucking gay for life. It's like the scarlet letter, as if being with a man is bad. You know, even when I've told women, I've had women that I've hooked up with, they know I've hooked up with men, and they refuse to have sex with me until I get tested. You know, and it's a very strange thing. And, you know I've been sexually promiscuous, but, I talk about the condom thing, but that's only in monogamous relationships. I've never had sex with someone outside of a monogamous relationship without a condom, even on a one-night stand. Even when I was fucking drinking, I wound up at a Wawa in my underwear, coming out of a blackout, screaming at them to give me a condom. I didn't have my wallet. I only had my car keys. And I was like, if I get AIDS, Wawa, it's your fault. Because I was so dead set on getting a condom. And I've never been with a man without a condom. I've never been with a trans woman without a condom. And I don't know. I feel like it's very frustrating, especially because I have friends too that, and I'm not asking people to understand my life, but it's funny because when people offer me a drink and I say no, they go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." I go, "It's not your job to know my life.
Yeah.
You were being kind to offer me a drink in a communal act of friendship. I get it. Totally fine." But then when people go, "You got a girlfriend? I thought you were fucking gay." And I go, "No, I never said I was gay. That's what you put on it just because I've been with men." And they go, "Oh, whatever." And they don't apologize.
Yeah.
You know? And that infuriates me.
Yeah.
I just wonder. I just wonder. I remember I hooked up with someone, and we didn't have sex because ultimately on the third date she told me that her fiance had come out to her. That he was gay and had given her herpes.
Oh God!
And I just in my head I'm like, well, I can imagine that person shared that story with people, and there's this fear where the thing with well, he's probably gay, or he's hiding it. If he's been with a man, for sure, is people trying to protect themselves from the fear that's their loved one or their monogamous relationship or their marriage is going to go astray. And so they're trying to prevent it. And they think, oh, well, if they've never been with a man, then I never have to worry about this. I can take this off the checklist, as opposed to realizing that you have to worry or not worry about anyone in your life because they could be telling the truth. They could be not. They could change. Who knew? But so much of it, I think, a lot of that behavior, there is a fear. I remember I went to musical theater camps. I remember one woman, she was in love with her high school boyfriend, and he ended up being gay. And I really think it just went into her where she blamed herself for she was so wounded by the fact that he went with a man that I could see how people are trying. That's what makes them think in that very binary way of just being no, you're gay, so I'm not fucking with this because I'm not going to get hurt like this other person. I'm not going to be betrayed. I'm not going to find it at 50.
Like self-preservation in a way.
And I'm like, haven't we been around the block long enough to know that even the people who might be straight presenting are sleeping with another guy, or they'll cheat on you with another woman? You can't protect yourself from people.
Yeah. And I find like the last bastion of true homophobia comes with the trudging into the bisexuality territory. You know, like it's very strange. It's very strange. But also I have a unique experience, I feel, because I'm like wildly straight passing. You know, like no one has ever been like, is he gay? Except for like, you know, I am like in touch with my feminine side. I talk with my hands a lot, and I can be a bit of a yenta, you know? And I'm like very sensitive. I was like raised by women, so I'm very like emotionally sensitive and whatever. And I've been called a fag and everything and like gay just because of my sensitivities, but never because of my presentation. Does that make sense? And so I've never felt accepted or a part of the LGBT community because that was not my story, you know? So I feel weird being involved in that community because I've never been a part of it. And I feel like it would be disingenuous. That's why I have a weird time talking about it, like on stage and everything. Cause it's like, I'm not part of that community. It's not part of my fight, but in a way it kind of is. And when I talk about it, I get so much feedback from like guys or even women that are like, my husband and I heard you on a podcast and he told me he's bi and he was like hiding it. Or like guys will be like, you know, I'm bi and I didn't know other bi people existed, or like, yeah, I feel better because I heard it. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. But it's like weird. I don't feel part of the LGBT. I feel part of the straight community that's like, I don't even know how to phrase it.
We need to add an S to that.
Well,
I think
no,
the
I-
LGBT
that's
S.
I think it's
But
like
I
the
think-
more,
but at the
the
very
more,
end we have straight.
dude, I'm telling you, the more individualized we get with these certain things, the more the clock strikes 12 twice, and it just comes back
that's
to
what
be like,
I was gonna say.
dude, the
it feels
LGBT
like-
is going to include straight.
Yeah, it is a funny thing where you're like the need to both for people to categorize and have it figured out is like, that's a huge component. I think people just like, well, what is your thing? I need to know your thing. And I also feel like the need for people to belong to community is a big thing. And that happens in lots of different things, not just in sexuality or gender. But I do feel like that's a big part of it too, where it's an interesting time to be in, because you're like, we've taken all these steps and you're like breaking down things and genders, and then like the things can feel more niche and separated sometimes. It's, you know,
it's very strange. Like I went to a rally or not a rally. Jesus, I went to a protest. God, yeah. Holy shit!
I went to a Klan rally,
so fucking
and
funny.
those are my people,
dude. I went to a protest, and it was just so laughable because I saw so many signs that were like, Muslim lives matter, queer trans lives matter, Black lives matter, Asian lives matter. And I'm like, wow, you're totally right. All lives do matter. You know, like the fucking clock strikes 12. It's like, what are we doing with all these like individualized things when it's like we're so much more alike and living, breathing together than we are different? I don't know why. Like the whole idea to like separate ourselves from everything is just so strange.
I think but it goes there because people aren't paying attention to a certain thing.
For sure.
I do like the idea that there's all these different causes. Sometimes you got to have one cause per.
Well, no, my thing,
Dude, I showed up. I was like, "Whose fucking parade is this?"
Well, I think that
like
like the Black Lives Matter. You're like they had that slogan. Everyone else has to come up with something else. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You're
You
like,
gotta
you
go
can't
with
just
your-
take-
dude,
once again, we're taking something
isn't
else.
it such like a queer thing to be like to have Black Lives Matter and be like, honey, no, this is gay now, you know? And it's like, oh fuck.
I mean, everyone should have all those lives.
Gianmarco's shitting himself. He's like, oh no, the TikTokers are coming after me.
That woman, she was at that rally.
Oh no. Gianmarco's like, I'll never have a Comedy Central set again.
No, who knows these days? Shut the fuck up. No, I agree. I think that with the adding of the letters at a certain point, I think sometimes you go further, you go like, everyone's sex is normal or strange.
Yeah.
Everyone, including. I think one of the biggest things I think was so funny with like where people would be like, see, I don't know if I'm anti-sex. The sex to me is sometimes gross in a way where I'm like,
Right.
I think that one of the big mistakes was not this idea that gay sex is his own thing, but it's like straight sex is gross too.
Right.
I'm always amazed when like some Christian fundamentalists will talk about gay sex like straight sex like it's not also like
Gross.
filled with
Yeah.
vile
Yeah.
liquids and things.
Well,
and,
it's funny because I've acted in a way of like total hedonistic, fucking insane behavior, and I feel like I've become more conservative of like y'all need Jesus or just like y'all play too much. Oh, you shouldn't be promiscuous. Find one person you love forever. You know, like because I've lived this crazy fucking put my dick everywhere life. I'm like, I feel like I had to go through that to find out what I wanted, and maybe people are just born that way where they already know that and it's innate inside of them. I just feel like I had to kind of go and explore all these other things in a way to like figure stuff out. But I mean, like, yeah, it's all gross, dude.
Yeah.
It's all gross. It's all weird. We're all fucking freaks of our own minds. And that's way more in common than like separating ourselves into like an asexual slut. And you're like, wait, what? How is that a fucking thing?
laugh at because
Are you kidding me?
asexual sluts will come for us.
asexual slut.
It's like, what? No, you're just horny sometimes. Cool. Welcome to fucking being married, folks. Downside.
Well, let's go to our final segment.
You better count your blessings.
You better count your blessing. Russell, do you have a blessing?
Yeah, real quick. I'm going to New Orleans tomorrow. I'm very excited. It's my favorite place, and I haven't been in a couple of years now, and I'm excited.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm
That's
just
awesome.
excited. It's gonna be a great trip.
I've always wanted to get down there.
Yeah.
You never been?
No,
You're a music boy, man. You would fucking love that shit.
I have in New Orleans in 2005. I went down to help rebuild homes that got hit by the hurricane.
Yeah.
And I went down to New Orleans, Biloxi, Mississippi, Foley, Alabama. It was fucking awesome. But that was for like, I didn't get to enjoy the culture.
Yes.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. My blessing, I'm going to L.A. this week.
Yeah.
And, I'm very fortunate. My mom, she lives in L.A. I have a casino gig. It's like a corporate casino.
Oh, hey, all right.
Good paying.
Hell yeah.
Good. I think it's the most I've had for one gig so far.
No way.
And I'm just featuring.
Wow.
Oh, dude.
Nice.
That's wild.
But it's in a place called Santa Ynez. It's 2 hours away from LA. There's no train to it. And my mom,
driving you.
we're probably going to be sharing a bed. But she is.
Thank God we told you about pulling out.
I have this.
Slabbity, dude.
I have this joke on stage that. Shut the fuck up! No. I tried this one. I have to stop doing. I love incest jokes.
Yeah.
I love incest jokes. But I talk about where I was dating someone, and we were both having a sex dream or whatever. We both woke up mid coitus.
Whoa.
Right? And so the joke is I tell that on stage by say, now I have to share a bed with my mom. I had to share a bed with my mom. And, I assume my brain would know I'm in bed with my mom, not a girlfriend. But just to be safe, before I went to sleep, I put on a condom. Her pleasure, because I'm a mama's boy. And it always, the audience goes like, what the fuck did you just... No one likes incest jokes. I
love it.
I love them so much.
Dude, you got to hit them with like 5 more after that.
Yeah.
To fucking dig in.
I think I talked about we're like early in stand-up. My stepfather came to a show where there were 5 people there. So I was bombing. Terrible show. And I did one. And this is my stepfather. So these are his kids. I was like, the thing about half siblings. The only downside of having half siblings is they're only half as fun to fuck.
Oh my god.
And like my stepdad from Ohio is
He's
just like,
is that true? Like, did he
no, he did like he disassociates.
Oh, okay.
He's
good.
something
Good.
in him
Well,
knows.
that's good.
Something in
That's
him
good.
knows. Like I can't even have this conversation.
I hate that.
So I
I'm
have.
sweating so hard just hearing
So
that.
you're gonna fuck your mom?
When I
yes,
haven't
good
tried
for
on stage,
you.
I want to try. I think I'm attracted to women who look like my mom because every woman I've ever slept with has been one of my sisters.
No.
Okay. All right. Ian, you got a blessing? You got a blessing for us?
Yeah, this is going to be over soon.
Don't do it. Don't do
it right now.
I'm moving these buttons to the other side of the table.
I
next
fucking
episode.
love the buttons. Man, in upside, I am so full of gratitude, man. I am grateful for sobriety. I'm grateful for friendship. I'm grateful for love, and I'm grateful for living in the day.
Yeah. Well, just remember, all days turn to nights, and all joys.
And the best part of night is that the day starts in the morning. The sun may set, but it always rises again.
1, 2, 3. Downside.